What's up everybody, Maran here for another weekly update. So there's lots of exciting and interesting and potentially sad news to cover this week. But before I get into all of the news here this week, I first want to mention I'll be doing my usual weekly live stream, but this week I'll be doing it at Saturday night at 9 p.m. Eastern time instead of Sunday. So join if you can though. It's still always a great time hanging out and talking cars with all of you guys. And also I want to mention that I may not be able to do a weekly update next week just due to my schedule and everything that I have going on next week. So just be prepared if you don't see an upload on Friday afternoon or evening. That is why I will be back next week with a weekly update. I haven't missed a weekly update in a long time, and I'm hoping that I'm going to be able to get it done, but just in case I'm not, just future heads up here, might not have one next week. So anyway, moving on to this week's weekly update here though. Sadly, it sounds like the R35 Nissan GT-R might be coming to an end here. So first, for the official part of this news, Nissan announced the 2025 GT-R and that it'll go on sale in June in Japan. For 2025, the Premium Edition T-Spec and the Track Edition trims will get some parts from the Nismo Special Edition, including a weight-balanced piston rings, connecting rods, and crankshafts. And the Premium Edition gets a new option for a Blue Heaven interior color, which is a fun name. Nissan says production will be limited to the point that they may have to cut off ordering if demand exceeds what they can make. And the ones that do get built will have a numbered plaque that also says who built the car. And Nissan didn't say how limited production will be for these, but last week before Nissan announced this 2025 GT-R, Japanese magazine Mag X called this whole limited production thing ahead of time here, and they claim it'll be a total of just 1,500 units. 300 of those will be the Nismo versions, and that 2025 will be the final model year for the R35 GT-R. According to this, unofficial report, they say that this is going to be the end. The reason they say, according to a Japanese dealer memo that they obtained, they claim says that we have decided to discontinue production because there will be many parts that cannot be manufactured in the future. There's also no confirmation yet on whether any of these 2025 GT-Rs will come to the States at all, and whether there'll be a different kind of special edition or what the case is. But it sounds like it might be a kind of abrupt thing because it didn't seem like there was any potential phase out for the GT-R, and we just had the refresh last year with the new bumper and some other nice tweaks, and I'm kind of surprised that would only last 2 years. So that's the only part of me that's a little skeptical about this report. But, they already called the limited production thing, so I'm inclined to believe this is actually accurate. If this does end up happening, I'm hoping we'll get some kind of confirmation ahead of time so people can actually go out and buy them, and it's not just some kind of surprise announcement like the STI was, where it's like, actually, it's not coming back anymore. They're all out there, the end. So we'll just have to wait and see. I will save my drink for the official announcement if that does come. And other things here. So as far as the successor, we already saw the Hyperforce concept last fall, and that literally had GT-R badges on it pretty much. So that is our glimpse at what potentially a next-gen GT-R could be like. But if that is, what comes, or whenever it comes, Top Gear, whenever they talked to Nissan Senior Vice President of Global Product Strategy and Product Planning, he said that the R36 will need to wait until all solid-state battery is out, it's stable, and it's ready, so we can go. With the density improvement, we can deliver a much better packaging that improves the aero and the overall behavior of the car while maintaining a 2+2 layout. So their current goal with that solid-state battery is to begin production in 2028. I've heard that may get pushed back to like 2030 or something, but so we'll see when that happens. But with the current backpedaling that many companies are also doing as far as their EV plans and all that, and if the solid state thing especially is tricky to crack, that is even more likely to get pushed back than even regular battery tech. And so I could potentially, this is just me going out on a limb here, but we saw how they gave a heavy refresh to the Frontier and a heavy refresh to the 370Z to turn into the new Z. I could see a similar type of thing happening here where they have an R36 GT-R and even call it that, and just heavily update the platform of the R35, give it fresh styling, and come out in a few years once they can reconfigure their suppliers and all that. That doesn't seem too far-fetched to me, especially if they are going to backpedal on the EV thing and maybe take their time with that. And so that we could maybe see R37 could be the crazy Hyperforce electric thing or something. I don't know. We'll have to see. That's just me going out on a limb here. But yes, we'll see. I'd be sad to see the R35 go, though. It's been around forever. It's certainly due for a new version or for the end of its life, but just such a legendary car, and we'll be always sad to see it go whenever that happens. But interesting to hear that. In some more bad news for enthusiasts here, unfortunately, BMW has just announced the end of the manual transmission M3 in Japan. And while this is just Japan for now, a BMW board member recently said, if you want a manual M, you need to buy it now. So, that's without coming right out and saying it, they're pretty much saying they're going away pretty soon for all of them. So brace yourselves for that news. Again, I will save my drink for that until our actual announcement here in the US, because I'm hoping we kind of hang on to it a little longer than other places. We'll see. But so Japan, though, is likely the first of a pattern we will see of special editions sending off manual transmission BMWs. And so this one here for Japan is called the MT Final Edition, and only 150 of these will be made for Japan. And if more than 150 people want one of these, there will be a lottery system to decide who gets them. And it comes in white, black, or gray, and they all get gold wheels and red seat accents. And they'll be starting with the current conversion rates, which probably aren't super accurate, but it'll be starting around $95,000 in Japan if you convert it to US dollars. So pricey, but especially with that limited of an amount, 150, that's totally going to be worthwhile, I'm sure, for those that can afford it and want it. So anyway, but interesting to hear that, and brace yourselves for the end of the manual M's. And an awesome performance car that actually got faster here this week was the Porsche Taycan with the introduction of the Turbo GT trim. So just a few weeks ago, we learned about the already much faster Turbo S version, which on its own jumped to 938 horsepower when using launch control, which is 187 more horsepower than before, thanks to a new rear motor and other improvements. Now the Turbo GT outdoes that with an even more powerful pulse inverter than the already upgraded one in the Turbo S, and the power now peaks at 1,093 horsepower for just 2 seconds, and then it goes down to 1,019 horsepower for 10 seconds, and then drops to 778 horsepower normally. Still a ton of power. I just drove a Taycan Turbo with, that had 670 horsepower, and even that was insanely fast. And even in this normal mode, this one does 100 more horsepower. Torque is also a massive 988 pound-feet of torque, and I believe that is pretty consistent regardless of what mode you're in. And that's 214 more pound-feet of torque than the already insane new Turbo S. So, and that's going to really be felt even more than the extra 100 horsepower over what I just covered in the video. But anyway, there's also an attack mode that gives you an 161 horsepower boost for 10 seconds, which is 67 more than the push to pass feature on the regular new Taycans. And it also all adds up to a 2.2 seconds 0 to 60, 2.1 if you get the Weissage package, which goes to extremes to make the car lighter, and I'll get to that in a second because that's pretty amusing. But 2.1 seconds. And also keep in mind, Porsche usually underrates their performance. So honestly, I wonder if independent testing will show a sub 2 seconds 0 to 60 time for this, which really I think is approaching the limits of grip for tires at that point. And just the limits of the human body. This is why people were saying like the Elon Musk claim of a 1 second 0 to 60 with his Roadster thing is highly unlikely, just because the amount of force it would put on your body is just insane. But even 2 seconds is going to be approaching that. I think this is nuts. And it's also officially the quickest four-door production electric sedan to lap the Nürburgring at 7 minutes and 7.55 seconds, and just recently also lapped Laguna Seca in 1:27.87, about half a second faster than the Model S Plaid, and it's the fastest of any production car period around the Laguna Seca. The regular Turbo GT comes pretty fully loaded and includes 21-inch forged wheels and later carbon ceramic brakes. That Weissage package gives you a more aggressive front diffuser, more underbody aero, and a big fixed wing, but at the same time it takes away your rear seats, your rear speakers, the clock from the Sport Chrono package, which now basically is ill-named because there's no chronograph in it. But anyway, and the nicer insulated glass also goes away. The charge port door isn't powered anymore, and there's only one of them instead of the two that all the other Taycans usually get. The trunk loses its soft close function, and even the floor mats are thinner. How much weight do you save with thinner floor mats? Surely that can't be more than like a pound or two. You just, tell the driver to not wear a jacket or something, and that's going to give you the same effect. Anyway, all total, it adds up to 157 pounds of weight loss, and also tax an extra 10 mile per hour onto the regular Turbo GT's 180 mile per hour top speed. And in Porsche's mind, the sacrifices even out the additions from a money standpoint, because they both start at the same exact $231,995, including destination, and the first deliveries will begin this summer. So, I mean, I guess it's at least nice that Porsche is not charging you for the privilege of having them remove things from your vehicle, even though, you are, again, paying more for less, technically speaking, with feature content. But anyway, I think some people said these will max out, almost at $300,000 too once you're done with options if you really want. So anyway, but very interesting to see that. It's just crazy to see Porsche continue to push the limit. And I believe, as far as official claims goes, this has got to be one of the fastest claimed vehicles in the world as well, at least as far as 0 to 60s goes. So anyway, very interesting to see that. There's also some potentially good news here for fans of the Alfa Romeo Giulia, especially if you weren't excited about the idea of it going exclusively electric. So according to Alfa Romeo's CEO, in an interview they recently did with Motor One in Italy, the new car's design has now been locked in, and he said, what we designed is a bomb. We couldn't finalize the design of this car without being absolutely in love with it, and now we are. So he's clearly jazzed about it, which is great. I mean, Alphas always look pretty good, so it's great to hear that they are really focusing on continuing that trend. He also confirmed that it'll be on the STLA Large platform, just like the Dodge Charger. But for anyone worried about a 5,800-pound Giulia here, when asked about how it'll be different from the Charger, he said the platform offers great flexibility in terms of overall length, wheelbase, width, height, etc. So I'm assuming that means that all of those metrics will be different than they are in the Charger. So don't expect it to be, as long as an S-Class, and so hopefully it will be a lot lighter. We will see if the STLA Large platform just is heavy by nature or what, but hopefully this won't get too crazy. He also added that the Stelvio will come first, and that's coming next year, with the Giulia not coming until 2026. And they'll both still be built in Italy. But Motor One also claims, now this part is unofficial, but they claim that the reports about it being exclusively electric aren't true, and that just like the Charger, it'll offer a mix of powertrains, including a regular gas version, a hybrid version, and an electric version. And so I'm guessing we'll get a better idea of that next year once the Stelvio comes out, because I'm guessing they'll still, share powertrains like they did for the last generation here. Yes, that is interesting. It also, I guess, kind of gives us an end date as far as when you need to hurry up and, if you want to get, obviously we just heard about the Quadrifolios going away, but, as far as regular Giulias and Stelvios, sounds like you got about a year or so left on a new Stelvio, and about, a year and a half or 2 years for the new Giulia, comes to replace the old one. So anyway, but very interesting to get some more info there on that one. Mercedes-AMG this week has revealed the 2025 E53 Hybrid, and thankfully this one does retain the 6-cylinder, unlike the C-Class, with the 3-liter inline-6 turbo getting a new turbo and doing 443 horsepower on its own, which is 14 more than the old one. It also still runs a 9-speed automatic and a 4-matic all-wheel drive system like the old one, but the transmission now incorporates a 161 horsepower electric motor that helps boost peak horsepower to 604 horsepower when using launch control, and 577 horsepower and 553 pound-feet of torque normally. It'll provide a 3.7 seconds 0 to 60 time and a 174 mile per hour top speed. And these kinds of numbers, used to be E63 territory, and now we're having them in the E53. It's a pretty impressive march forward here. And this isn't just a regular hybrid though either. It is a plug-in hybrid that carries around a 28.6 kilowatt hour battery, with just 21.2 kilowatt hours of that actually being usable for regular electric driving. And the rest of that is reserved for when you need that extra burst of power, to make sure that pretty much if you ever want to tap into that full 600 odd horsepower, you can always have enough battery left there to give you that, zap of power. And so it's good they're keeping the, larger reserve there. There's no range given for these, but it can DC fast charge at a leisurely 60 kilowatt speed, charge speeds. So I guess, I don't know why they even do that, because it's just going to encourage people to hog fast chargers when they don't need a fast charger. If you have a plug-in hybrid, you should never ever use a fast charger. Level 2 or something, whatever, I guess, if no one else is it's deserted or something. But save the chargers for actual vehicles that need them, not gas-powered stuff with gas backups. That's the whole point of a plug-in hybrid, so you don't have to fast charge. You charge it at home, and then, you know, you leave the fast chargers for the EVs that actually need them. I don't know why they think it's a good idea to put DC fast charging in any plug-in hybrid, unless they have way bigger batteries. But even still, that's what the gas engine is for. Man, there's going to be a lot of... I'm going to be really upset if we start having plug-in hybrids hogging DC fast chargers in the future here. But anyway, there's no curb weight that was provided yet for these, but expect it to be a lot heavier than the old one due to that big battery. And to help the handling, it gets adaptive dampers, rear-wheel steering, bigger brakes, electronically controlled rear diff, extra bracing, stiffer bushings, dynamic engine mounts, and a wider track in the front as well. There's also wider fenders there to house that wider track, along with the other usual AMG tweaks, you know, to the styling for both the outside and on the inside. And it'll arrive later in 2024, and there's no pricing for these yet. Audi has revealed the 2025 A3 refresh here in Europe, and we'll likely get most of the same stuff here for our 2025 A3 as well. So there's a new front end design here, along with headlights that have several different selectable lighting signatures now. The rear bumper is also new in the back. Inside it gets a new dash design, more ambient lighting including backlit door panels, and a flatter shifter design in the center console there. There's also a new Sonos 3D stereo, and the powertrains will likely be carryover here as well, but we'll wait to see about that one. One bit of info that the US division did provide is that unlike Europe, which will have a bunch of stuff that's now becoming subscriptions, even including basic stuff like dual zone climate control you have to subscribe to in Europe, which I don't know if that's actually going to happen, because I think there's going to be so much pushback even in Europe for that. That is a bridge too far. I don't know who thought that was a good idea in Audi, but anyway, they're going to try that along with a bunch of other stuff that's going to be a subscription. Thankfully, they confirmed here in the US that they know we're not going to stand for that. The only subscriptions that will be offered here are for the enhanced navigation, so the live traffic updates and stuff, which is a normal thing, and also adaptive cruise, which we are seeing, you know, Blue Cruise, Super Cruise, those types of things moving to subscription plans. You know, I don't love that either, but that's at least a little more normal, I guess, these days than charging a subscription of dual zone climate, which I feel like zero people would actually pay for. You're talking about dual zone climate is nice, but at the end of the day, we're all sitting in a vehicle that's the size of a telephone booth inside. Like, how much of an individual climate can you really have? So anyway, especially in an A3 of all, maybe, you know, talk about it in an A8 or something, but an A3, really? Anyway, so I'm glad that at least they put a stop to the panic here in the States with that. So one thing that I wish would come to the US, though, is that they introduced a new all-street variant in Europe, which basically gives the A3 hatch the cross-track treatment with more rugged styling and an extra 1.2 inches of ground clearance. And I know we don't get the hatch version of the A3 here in the States, and I'm guessing, you know, for crash testing reasons and stuff like that, it'd probably be an uphill battle to bring this here because it'd be really expensive. But I don't know. I think there's a market for luxurious cross-track, especially one that offers turbo power, since Subaru still refuses to offer turbo power. If you have a few more bucks to spend and you live in the mountains somewhere, higher elevations, where you desperately want a turbo, but you don't want to go up to an Outback XT or something, you spend Outback XT money on an A3, all street here. I think there's a business case there that is pretty decent if I'm being an armchair product planner over here. So we'll see. I mean, they haven't announced anything officially for any of this A3 stuff for the US, so maybe we'll be surprised and they'll actually bring it. I mean, Audi's been cool about bringing us the R6 Avant and stuff like that, so obviously that's much higher, with the profit margins and all that, but still, we'll see what happens. But anyway, interesting to see those. Sadly, two cool new Volkswagen products that are almost certainly definitely not coming to the United States here is the Volkswagen ID3 GTX and ID7 GTX Tourer that both debuted this week. So the GTX is the performance variant for Volkswagen's EVs in Europe, and while we just saw the ID7 Tourer reveal a few weeks ago, this GTX version bumps power to 335 horsepower to the dual motors there and gives it slightly sportier styling. The ID3 GTX sounds even more fun though, with its electric power going only to the rear wheels, and it's a healthy 282 horsepower in that little hatchback as standard, or you can go up to 322 horsepower for the performance trim, where it'll do a 5.6 second 0 to 62 mile per hour time. It also gets the sportier suspension with DCC adaptive dampers, a slightly bigger battery pack, and the unique looks there. And also, it's important to note that, yeah, I mean, it's only going to the rear wheels. So, I mean, a little rear-wheel drive hatch with 322 horsepower, that sounds like a really fun time. So we will see. You know, I mean, the ID7 Tour has a slight chance of coming here, but I wouldn't hold your breath for that one either. And we've never gotten the ID3, so that certainly won't happen. But maybe that rear motor could then be shifted to the front and, you know, be a precursor of what we're going to see for an electric GTI, potentially for, you know, this Mark 9 generation or whatever. So we'll have to wait and see. But for those of you in Europe, both of these will be available here soon. Kia has teased the new Forte replacement called the K4 that'll debut next week, and it'll also be debuting at the same time at the New York Auto Show on March 27th, around the same time. So far we just get some shadowy teaser images here that show what appears to be a bigger car. There's rear door handles integrated into the rear door glass, and there's lighting that's similar to what we've seen on other Kias. It looks like the headlights look very similar to what we see on the Carnival and the Sorento and a couple of others. Same deal for the taillights there in the back. So we'll have to see, you know, how it's, you know, slightly different here for this. But, you know, I mean, the size increase should be good, and glad to see a new generation vehicle in this compact segment, because we haven't had anything new since the Civic a couple of years ago. Corolla's pretty dated at this point, you know, as is Sentra and the others. So it's good to see a fresh new, you know, compact sedan here. So great to see that. And lastly, Cadillac has teased a future concept car they're calling the Opulent Velocity concept, that they say is designed to celebrate the past, present, and future of Cadillac and its performance brand V-Series, which is on its 20th anniversary here this year. And they also say that it's designed to foreshadow a zero emissions expression of performance and modern luxury leadership. And they say that they'll be sharing more here later this year. So all they're showing off so far here is a pointy nose and a few very fast glimpses in an 18-second teaser video that almost makes it look like a smaller Celestiq with the styling. So again, we'll see. I mean, the pointy nose, to me, is a promising sign. I'm excited for this. Obviously, it's going to be no CT5V Blackwing as far as sound goes and possibly handling, but you know, we will see. And obviously, again, we're talking about a concept. As far as when an actual production thing will arrive, you know, give it another, 3 years at least, probably. And lastly, I want to thank all of you that are members of the Maran Motoring Club. So we did have a few new members able to join here, thanks to the very generous membership gifting that was done during last week's live stream by Double Strike Photo, Kyle, and the Truck and Cargo. So huge thanks to all three of you for your very generous gifts, and I'm sure all the new members are very grateful, and all those who were able to rejoin as well, which is a lot of people, are very grateful as well. But I also want to give a big welcome here to the new members. So welcome to That Car Guy 6, Jonathan Goss, Matt R, and Vivek H. So thank you all so much for, being able to, get those memberships. I hope you enjoy the membership perks, and I hope that you're considering sticking around after that trial period is over as well. I'm looking forward to also chatting with those of you who can make it in the live stream here, where those members do get that priority answering. It's one of the best perks about being a member, as well as all the other behind the scenes exclusive stuff and all that. For anyone else that'd like to join and become a member, there's always join buttons here on the video page, on the channel page, and also a link in the description. But anyway, thank you all very much for watching. Let me know your thoughts on all this stuff in the comments below. Please leave a like and subscribe to keep these videos coming, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.